Hello and welcome. My name is Jenna. I am a author, I'm a medium, I'm a tarot reader, I'm a paranormal investigator, and I also do a podcast on my YouTube channel. So if you found me through social media, thank you so much. This is going to be a course about angels and your spirit guides, your spirit team, the entourage that is always with us. Now, if you have found me on social media, you're going to know that I say we a lot in my videos, especially if I'm doing a paranormal investigation or ghost hunting. And the reason I say we is that I have an entourage that's always with me. It's energetic, it's angels, it's guides, it's ancestors, it's spirit, it's the Holy Spirit. And so we're going to cover quite a few things in here that I personally learned. I've taken a few seminars over my life. I've written a book about all of my experience. So if you guys ever want to purchase it, this is my autobiography. It's called Stepping Stones to Destiny. It is only for sale on Amazon. It is in my LINKTREE, so that's going to be linked in the description box of all of my videos on YouTube. But I will also send that to anybody who purchases this course so you can access all of the goodies. So in this, we're going to cover a lot of different things having to do with angels. What does it look like when they actually do visit you? Because they do. They're always with you. We're going to cover some sign symbols and synchronicities that you could be seeing. We're going to go over some of my personal experiences that I've had with angels as well as other deities and things like that. We're going to cover something called automatic writing to help you tap into that subconscious mind and to help you to be able to literally channel or receive information from the spirit realm. So being a medium, I connect to other world entities. Some of them were actual physical human beings once on this planet, and others were not. Others were only in the angelic realm or the spiritual realm and do not inhibit. They don't come in human form. They're only in a light form or a light body. So we'll get more into that. So this is going to be your How to Connect to Your Angels course 101. So it's going to be all in one video, and I've broken it down into a few different parts. So some of this is my own personal experience, things that I've learned over my 45 years, and kind of how my spiritual gifts amplified and woke up. I do write about all of this in my book, so we're going to go in depth in some areas, and in others you're going to have to read the book in order to get all of the info. So the first place I want to start is discussing what is an angel, right? If we know all different religions on the planet, and there's many of them, all seem to have a few things in common, one of those being angels. So angels are defined as a spiritual being believed to act as an attendant, an agent, or a messenger of God, conventionally represented in human form with wings and a long robe. Now, if you can picture, we've seen things like that, right? TVs, movies, we've seen imagery of angels probably everywhere, right? So my first encounter with an angel was when I was much younger. I was in my 20s. Back then I attended church pretty regularly with my husband at the time, and we had, I want to say, 2 boys at that time. I have 4 total. So my first encounter with an angel was actually in church one Sunday, and this was long before I knew that I was a medium. I really didn't know that I had that ability. Although I had used it many times in my life, I didn't realize I could tap into it at will. I didn't know how. It took a long time for me to understand how to do that. So that's part of what this course is about, is how do you do these things? How do you tap in? We are all psychic, okay? So we all have a soul. We're all able to tap into that part of our psyche, which is the Greek word for soul. So if you've still got a soul, which I'm sure you probably do, you're able to do some of these things as well. We're all able to talk to our guides. We're all able to communicate with God, source, spirit, creator, the universe, angels, and they will meet you where you're at, no matter how light or how dark the environment you're in is. God will find you in your darkest moments, and sometimes he will strip away everything that you relied on in order to realize that the only thing you need in this world is him, And once you surrender to that plan, he starts to bring in blessings to your life. So my first encounter with an angel was many, many years ago. One Sunday, we happened to be attending church, and I happened to look up while we were doing praise and worship and noticed a woman that I loosely knew from Bible study. I can't honestly remember her name, so for the purpose of this story, we'll just call her Mary. And Mary was just walking back to her seat, and I happened to glance up and see her. And in the moment that I glanced up and looked at her, I had this sudden thought in my mind. And for purposes going forward, we're going to call those downloads. A download is receiving of a thought or information that seems to come out of nowhere that you just have this sudden hunch or knowing about, okay? So in this moment, as I looked at Mary, I had this sudden knowing that she had cancer. I had heard the word in my thoughts, in my mind. And so I was a little upset with myself that I would think such a negative thing about somebody. Now, I didn't know if there was anything actually going on with her because I really didn't know her outside of, I think, maybe 1 or 2 Bible studies that we had done as a group. So I didn't know much about her personal life. I didn't really know if she was well or ill. And so I whispered to my husband, I said, I just had the craziest thought about Mary. And I told him what happened, and he looked puzzled, and he said, well, pray about it, see if you get any clarification. Now, all these years later, I still remember the sermon happened to be on, if it's truly from God, then he will come with confirmation. And if it is an attack from the enemy or the devil, negative, evil entities, it's going to come with hesitation and confusion. And that is how we use discernment in order to decipher whether these messages that are coming in are something that God needs us to know and pay attention to, or our angels, our spirit team, or if this is an attack of spiritual warfare. Okay? So I prayed about it, and as I was praying about it, I felt a presence next to me on both sides, and it wasn't human. I can honestly say this was probably the first time that I actually felt like I encountered an otherworld entity around me. Maybe the second time. The first time I was a teenager, I saw a full-bodied apparition. That's a whole other topic. So we'll say this was the second time. I could see in my mind's eye. I couldn't physically see them with my human eyes. I could see them in my mind. And part of my gift is that I receive imagery in my mind, like a picture-in-picture screen. So everything that's still going on in the 3D world around me, I can see, feel, hear, smell. All my senses are intact. But as I receive messages, they're all still intact. So I pick up energy in many different ways, and I'm sure you can relate to some of these as well. So one of the first things that I picked up on was I could see this massive man on my left and a massive man on my right, and they looked very different, but also very similar. So the man to my left was introduced energetically in my mind through thoughts or telepathic communication as Michael. So he stood probably 10 to 12 feet tall, towered over me. For reference, I'm 5'4", and I could see these massive glowing wings that came out from behind him. They were the most pristine white I'd ever seen in my life, almost glowed. They were such a bright white. And on my right side, I could see a similar individual with different features. The hair was a different color, stood about the same height, and he was introduced to me as Gabriel. So they're both archangels. There's 3 archangels. So Raphael would be the 3rd. So Michael starts communicating to me through thoughts and acknowledged that their presence was there to help for guidance, reassurance, and protection. Michael's come to me multiple times. Sometimes he comes to me as a giant ball of light that is almost blinding. It looks like a floodlight when he comes near. Other times I'll see him in more of a human form. That's more what we would normally see in like movies or things like that. The more human-like form, and then the wings coming out. So he reveals himself to me in multiple different ways. Now, I don't recall off the top of my head if Raphael has ever stepped forward, but Gabriel has come on occasion. So they do tend to work in pairs when they need to, but most of the time they come singly to me. They don't always come in pairs. So as I'm in the middle of trying to communicate and figure out what's going on and not completely panic that I'm doing this out of nowhere, all of a sudden communicating with these archangels, all of a sudden it's like the stress and the worry leave, and I'm just in this space where I'm communicating with them and listening and receiving the energy. I don't recall a lot of if Raphael really Gabriel really communicated much, but he was more just kind of quiet. I don't remember him really communicating. I feel like Michael did the most of the communicating. So as a result of this interaction, I had some clarity, and they basically kind of vanished into thin air. I didn't feel them any longer. And as we leave the service, we're getting ready to go pick up our kids from the nursery. I'm standing in the foyer, and I see Mary and these other two women talking, and I'm maybe 10 or so feet away from them, and I wasn't purposely trying to eavesdrop, but I could hear some of the conversation. So I see one woman go up and hug her, and kid you not, the very first thing that she asked her was, "How are you? How are you doing? And how is your chemotherapy going?" Let's just say my jaw hit the floor, okay? So we compel all of the thoughts and the visions and things that I had, mixed with the angel visitation, mixed with the topic of the sermon about using discernment, and that Spirit will give you confirmation if it's from God, okay? So that one really threw me for a loop. I really at that point was just like puzzled, didn't have any idea what in the world all of this meant. I'm a writer, so I kept journals for years. I still journal about things, and so I documented some of this in a journal many years ago, which has since vanished and disappeared, so it's a good thing the memory's intact. And I write about some of these in my book, Stepping Stones to Destiny, so if you want more in depth, read the book. So that was my first real encounter with Michael and Gabriel. So angels, being spiritual beings, they can come in when you need them. The thing is, we have free will. And so I'm sure you've heard that as well, right? They will not force us to have an interaction, but they want us to have an interaction with them. So if you are like-minded and you want to learn to connect to your angels, I encourage you to speak to them on a regular basis. I'm pretty tight with my spirit guide, my primary spirit guide, and I've had several. And so a spirit guide is basically a guardian and a guide that comes to assist you. We have primary ones that are with us from birth until death, usually one, sometimes two. And then we have the entourage, or you have others that are assigned specific tasks in your life to help assist you through certain things that you're going to go through, let's put it that way, on your journey of life. And so when I was younger, I felt a female presence that was with me, and I called her Shirley. And Shirley would present herself looking like an old-fashioned librarian. She had big, thick glasses. Her hair was piled on top of her head in a bun, and she always carried around like a little clipboard and a pen, and she was always making notes of things. And several, I want to say probably like a year and a half ago, Shirley ascended to a different role, and I was assigned a different primary guide who I call Dimitri. Dimitri is very different from Shirley. His energy comes through very protective. I would describe him as he looks like kind of a Greek god, very broad shoulders, dark hair, tan olive skin. And he sometimes will come with thick sunglasses on, very dark. He looks like a bouncer at like a nightclub is the best way I can describe him. So he can be a little bit intimidating. And I was assigned him because throughout my journey of enlightenment, which is what we're here to do, is to learn, I had to be reassigned a different guide that was a little bit stronger and more equipped for the challenges that I'm going to face through the next leg of my journey. So that does happen sometimes. Depending on what your calling is, your guides might change. They might evolve to help you with your evolution. So that does happen. Now, I've had a few other guides that I only encountered on occasion. One of them I called Timothy. He was there for protection. He would come in every once in a while if I was in danger and kind of give me forewarning or encouragement to get out of a situation, things like that. So I didn't see him very often, but he did a lot for me behind the scenes. I also had another one when I went through my spiritual awakening in 2020. After I lost my mom through tragedy is when my gifts really started to wake up. Again, I discussed this in detail in my book. So one of the things that came out of that was I met some of my spirit team that I didn't know existed before. I had been communicating with them without realizing it for many, many years. So one of them I call Miko, and she looked kind of Egyptian. She had extremely long, thick, dark black hair and yellow eyes. And I was mesmerized when I could see her, just how absolutely beautiful and breathtaking she was. And she was responsible for helping me to navigate through timelines. And so her energy was really interesting to encounter the first time because I could physically see her in detail. She also helped me to navigate through some past life timelines. I discuss those as well in my book. So your guides can help you through many different things in life. Some of it's for protection, guidance, waking up old soul memories because we've lived multiple lifetimes on this planet and others. And we have all of these memories stored in what's called the Akashic Records. So think of it as a library of all of the knowledge that your soul has learned through every single lifetime. We're not prepared when we come in as a blank slate as a baby to understand or know all of those knowledge or things that we have encountered or learned. So Spirit will reveal them to us slowly over time when they feel that we are ready to achieve or unlock that next level of knowledge. So some of these things were really transformative for me. And the reason that I'm giving you all this backstory is so you know that if you start encountering things like this, that you don't have to be fearful, that your angels are never there to harm you. They want to help protect you and guide you, and that is most of their purpose. Now, again, they have other jobs. You can assign tasks to them, things like that, but their primary goal is to really be there for protection and guidance for you. So I would encourage you to meet them, okay? And yes, you can ask them to come forward and meet you. Now, I don't like to be scared, so I didn't want my angels to come forward in a physical way that was going to scare me, right? I'm not that person. I don't watch scary movies, things like that. So that was something that I was really adamant. Yes, you can come forward. Yes, you can engage with me, but please do it in a way that doesn't scare me. And so as I took this seminar and learned all these different things, one of those was that I met another guide or an angel who came to me, and she looked like bright yellow light, and I call her Hope. She actually, I physically could feel her presence with me, and I could feel her put her hand on my back in between my shoulder blades, and it was almost like a tingly sensation, and I could see the color bright yellow in my mind, and she gave me the name of Hope. Now, we're going to get into how you connect with your guides, and we're going to do some guided meditations in this because I want you to be able to connect with your entourage, your spirit team, your guides. And so that is really the purpose, as well as sharing some knowledge of my own experiences and kind of how I developed these things. So the first thing that I would like for us to do is to clear the energy. And one of the things that's really important is to set your intention when you're working in the spiritual, in realms that we don't often participate in as humans. So one of the first things that I like to do, and some people like to listen to meditation music, some people like to light incense or candles, things like that. So you're going to figure out what works best for you. I typically will take a candle. Any kind of candle is fine. So we're going to first light our candle and we're going to invite our angels to step forward. So we're going to light our candle, okay? We're going to set that in a safe place. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the singing bowl. Again, you don't have to use the same equipment if you don't want to, but you can absolutely invest in some of these things should you want to. You can use bells, you can use music, you can use crystals, you can use deep breathing exercises. There's many ways for spirit to communicate with us. So one of the things I like to do is first light a candle and then clear the energy with either sound or incense. So if you have breathing problems and incense isn't an option, use sound. You can use bells, even like a regular little bell that dings like that. Those work great. All right, so we're going to use the singing bowl. I ordered this off of Amazon, so if you're curious where I got it. So we're going to take 3 deep cleansing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then I'm going to use the sound to clear the energy, and we're going to invite angels to come and step forward. We're also going to say a little prayer of protection. Why do we do that? Well, if you remember, Lucifer was once an angel, and we don't want any dark or negative energy to come into our space when we do this. So it's always an intention that we protect our energy. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do all these things. Thank you, angels. We invite you to come in and make contact with those viewing this message today. We ask that you surround us in a white light of protection from our head to our toes, and that it radiates or amplifies out as a ring of protection while we work across the spiritual plane to connect with you. I ask that the angels step forward to whoever watches this message, and I ask you to show up for them in a way that does not scare them in any way, shape, or form. I ask you to step forward and make contact. Reveal what you would like to be called, your name. Reveal what you look like. Reveal if there's any information that is important to this viewer on what they need to know from you at this time. A couple of deep breaths. We're going to sit with this energy for just a second. So if you are taking notes, write down anything that comes through. Don't second guess it. Don't let doubt and fear creep in, and allow your angels to come and communicate with you. Spirit, I ask you to encounter this human and to let them know that you are with them through some sort of divine presence. Invite your angel to step forward, either through a thought in your mind or through words at this time. Angels, I invite you to step forward and make contact with me at this time. Thank you, angels, for your presence. Now, I would like to know if there are any angels present that would like to introduce themselves. If so, you are welcome to share your name that I may call you, or share a color, a symbol, music. And I invite you to step forward and touch my left shoulder. I'm personally seeing the color green. You could be seeing something totally different. All of the things that you pick up are information that your spirit team or your angels is trying to give you. Thank you, angels. All right, so that's one of the exercises that I learned how to do to call in my angel team or my spirit guides in order to make contact. The next thing that we're going to discuss is about automatic writing, what it is, how it works, and how that's going to help you to connect to spirit. All right, so Jenna, what in the world is automatic writing? Oh, I'm glad you asked. I'm about to tell you. So automatic writing is also called psychography. It is claimed that it is a psychic ability allowing a person to produce written words without consciously writing, connecting to the subconscious mind. So how does one do those things? So somebody who practices automatic writing, that's something that I used to do often when my gifts started to wake up. So you get something to write with and something to write on. So pen and paper works great. You do not use tech for this, okay? It's very old-fashioned. So handwriting, pen and paper, literally that's how this works. So you grab your instruments that you need. I'll wait momentarily for you to grab those. All right, so hopefully you've grabbed your pen and paper. Now, what you're going to do with this is we are going to tap into our subconscious mind, which connects to the ethers, which connects to the spiritual realm, okay? And as a medium, this is something that I really enjoyed doing, and I still do from time to time if I need an answer that I feel like I don't have yet. And so as a result, I'm able to receive information through my subconscious or my spiritual mind versus my conscious or awake mind. So all you need is paper and pen, and we're going to sit and do a little bit of deep breathing to clear our mind, to clear our energy. Again, you can use sound clearing as well. And I want you to sit in a place that is quiet and comfortable. You don't need to do this for long periods of time to get results. And the biggest thing that you need to release is doubt and fear to open up that channel to connect. So in order for people to engage in automatic writing, you're holding a writing instrument, okay? So we've got our pen, marker, pencil, and you allow the spirits to manipulate your handwriting, okay? So the instrument may be a standard writing instrument, or it might be one specially designed for automatic writing, such as a planchette or a Ouija board. I personally will never touch a Ouija board. I don't think that they are a good thing. I feel like they open up portals that people don't know how to close, and once the door is open, anything can come in. So I highly recommend that you don't touch a Ouija board, okay? So we're gonna focus on pen and paper. So some of this is really easy to come through. Now, I've seen other people use their non-dominant hand to do this as well, and I've done that on occasion just because it's silly and it's kind of entertaining. So you can use either. If you would like to be able to read what you're writing, I suggest you use your dominant hand. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is to clear your mind of any of your natural thoughts that are coming in. The first thing that's going to creep up is doubts, fears, or hesitation, and that's your ego. So we have to learn to set aside the ego in order to do some of this stuff and allow our spirit guides to actually talk to us. Now, what do your spirit guides sound like? 9 times out of 10, they're going to sound like a familiar voice. Typically, I will tell you it sounds like your voice. Why? You've been talking to them since birth. You have been communicating unconsciously with your guides since childhood. Maybe you had imaginary friends. Maybe you're like me and you talk to yourself. You're talking to your higher self, your subconscious mind, your intuition, okay? And all of those are connected to spirit energy, God, source, spirit, creator, the universe, angels, guides, all of that, okay? It's all connected. We are all energetically connected as well, so you're able to tap into that energy. So how does this work? Well, we're going to show you. So when I say we, I'm talking about spirit and myself. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 3 cleansing breaths, just like we did to invite our angels to step forward. Okay. So in through the nose and out through the mouth 3 times. And we're going to clear the energy with our sound bowl. Thank you, angels. Spirit, we would like to invite you to communicate with us through pen and paper, the old-fashioned way. We would like for you to demonstrate how automatic writing works and show our community that this is something that they can use as a tool to communicate with you. So, after you watch this, I would encourage you to spend a few minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes a day, for a week and see what messages come through. Now, I have many of these that I wrote down and I saved and I journaled about, and they are in my book, Stepping Stones to Destiny. So I would like this opportunity to share with you some of those automatic writings that I also experienced. So one of the things that I learned in one of the seminars that I took several years ago was how to do this, right? I've taken 2 really great seminars. My first one was with James Van Praagh. He's a world-renowned medium. He's written countless books, and I always wanted to take one of his seminars, but I never had the disposable income of like $5,000 to be able to go do that. So this opportunity presented itself when we were in the middle of the lockdown for COVID in 2020. And I had recently lost my mom, and all of the things that came up out of that led to my spiritual awakening, my dark night of the soul, which is about spiritual upheaval, let's put it that way. And so as a result, some of these presented themselves, and I took the opportunity to learn, because part of what I'm here to do is to share knowledge. It's part of my spiritual gifts. So some of what I learned from Kyle was that he wanted us to know that we are all equal in this space, that none of us is more important than another. And I totally agree with that. If you're curious, I'm reading some of my book to you. So we are all a receiver and a transmitter of energy or vibration. All of us are connected in oneness. So if you see tarot readers and they talk about the collective, that's the united oneness that we all are. We're all energetically tethered to one another through the ethers, through our soul, through energy. And so every living thing on this planet that draws breath is interconnected. And that was a really important thing to know. Your intuition is feeling and awareness. We are answering a call from our soul. You are waking up to an intention in your previous life. Like attracts like. You already know your angel. You're remembering them. Your angels are the beat of the heart of God, and God is the heart. Angels are the beat. Angels are God's messengers. Call the angels by saying thank you prayers. That's one of the easiest ways is gratitude to get them to respond to you. Angels must be invited in to help us because we have free will. Unless in certain life or death situations, then they can intervene. So we start by addressing a simple thank you, angels. So angels will always come. They want you to be reminded of their presence. So thank you, angels, for reminding me of your presence. Angels will always come in a way that will make you feel safe. They aren't there to scare you. Feeling safe is essential to connecting to the angels. Archangel Michael's name means he is like God in Hebrew. So if we think of Archangel Michael as a visual representation of God, he's his right-hand man in the spiritual. He is protective, he is brave, he is loving, and he can come at a moment's notice to sever energetic ties that are no good for us. He can come to protect us. He can come to guide us. He's incredible to work with. So we must first cleanse the energy to invite the angel in. So that's what the 3 breaths come in for. We cleanse the energy. We take the deep breaths. Again, music, singing bowls, sound clearing, smoke clearing, all of those will work to clear your energetic space. So we invite the angel in. We cleanse. Thank you, angels, for your love and protection. We set the tone. Remember who you are. You are a product of love. Moisturize. Put a bubble of protection around your body. Envision a bright white light coming and shielding your energy from any sort of negative or dark entities that try to harm you. and it also shields, so we block our intuition. So we don't want to block our intuition. We want to keep the riffraff, as I like to call it, out, or the negative mindset out, but we want to open our intuition when we're in that space with the angels. So angels can also come with feelings and signs. Maybe all of a sudden it felt chilly or a hot temperature change. You might smell roses, tobacco, see a color, feeling a presence on one side of the body. These are your angels letting us know that they are with us. We did a meditation to try to connect to the angel that was always with us, your main guide. I could feel an energy come into the room and that it was behind me to my left. I get goosebumps often on only one side of my body when angels are near me. This time I got a color, bright yellow. I heard a faint voice in my mind say, "We are with you." Kyle then pulled a few cards out of his decks. I happened to buy 2 of them. I do use them in my readings. The first card, he said, is always the strongest message. The second was the heart card. The third was the outcome or advice. He talked about manifesting and that 7 is the number of manifesting. I personally see 7s in like 3s, so 777 often. So I know my manifestations are working. Looking forward to the other 2 days of this seminar. Later that night, I was working with the new tarot decks that I got. I happened to pull one that was not only bright yellow, the word on the card was hope. Until I know what else to call my angel, I will call her Hope. So that was my first encounter with Kyle's messages of how to actually engage with the angels. And so my purpose in writing about this in my book was to share the knowledge so that you yourself could also connect with your angels. And that is also the point of this class or this seminar, this course, is for you to also be able to know that knowledge and to share it as well. See part 2. Hello and welcome back. This is part 2 of our Angels 101 spiritual practice. So on day 2 of our seminar with Kyle Gray, we learned some things about the ego. We learned about some spiritual protection. We learned about how angels like to communicate with us, and that's what we're going to cover in part 2. And some of it has to do with saying things in prayer form. Now, if you are not a religious person, that is okay. You don't need to be to connect to the angelic realm. I'm spiritual at this point in my life, although I grew up in a Christian household. So I feel like no matter where you are, angels will communicate and they will show you things that make sense to you. Now, I will tell you that signs and symbols that make sense for me might mean nothing to you, and that's okay. Those are things that make sense to me, so my guides will show me things that work for me, and they're going to do something that makes sense for you to understand. In the beginning of this, I would tell you that it's more confusing than it makes sense, so you really do want to work with this energy on a regular basis, and they're going to start to become more clear, okay? I had to look up a lot of things for years to really understand. We're going to get into that as we progress along. So one of the things that I did during this is I took notes. I'm a writer, so it came second nature to me. So I want to share some of what I learned from that, and it's going to help you to connect with your guides as well. So we started with angel prayers. If you don't like the word prayer, just think of it as you're talking to your spirit team. It's words that we use to communicate, whether they're through our thoughts, which is telepathically, or through our mouth, which is verbally, okay? So either way that feels more normal to you is the mode that you're gonna use. So if you're a talker and you like to talk to spirit, use your mouth. If you're a quiet, shy person, then you're gonna use maybe thoughts, or you're gonna be in a private area where you feel comfortable to communicate with your spirit guides and your angels. So whichever feels more comfortable to you, that's the mode that you wanna take. So I want to share some of the notes that I wrote about this day of our class. I wrote, let your spiritual practice hold you. We have all been feeling a want to be a better version of ourselves, a calling for improvement, or felt a calling to spirituality. Most of us have at some point in our lives had struggled with our faith. I definitely did. Over the years, I believed, but where was the proof, right? Where was the tangible evidence that Spirit was all around us? I felt like I didn't see enough of that and I wanted more. Feeling like faith has come and gone. And I felt that way many times in my life. Even now, sometimes I still feel like that. Like I'm disconnected from source or I'm disconnected from my guides. And sometimes we feel that way as we're going through energetic upgrades, which you will through many points in your life. Some of them are not fun, but necessary, right? It's like the rebuilding. So Spirit will strip away things from us that are hindering our growth spiritually in order to embrace something new. And so whether that's new gifts or new talents, new abilities, energizing things that maybe were dormant, causing us to wake up our gifts, our spirituality, all of those things, Spirit's going to find a way to get the message across to you by any means necessary. And I do mean by any means necessary. So faith is a spiritual practice. It's like a first aid kit. What do I mean by that? Your faith is going to fix all of the owies. And that we're going to simplify it like we're 2 years old. Your faith will heal all of the things that are broken. And I know that sounds completely crazy to somebody who is struggling with their faith, but your faith will heal you. And you can have the faith of a mustard seed, the tiniest thing in the world, a speck of dust. Spirit will use that speck of dust to amplify your faith and to show you that they are absolutely real. And I promise you, you will start to see those things. So let's talk about the ego. The ego is your energy that doubts or fears Spirit. So your ego is going to come in with all these reasons or excuses why God will abandon you, why your angels aren't real, why your instincts or your intuition is BSing you, that it's not real. That's the ego that's in control. And we want to scooch the ego on out of there so we can trust our instincts and intuition. We don't want to operate in ego. We need to actually have what's called an ego death. And that comes with your dark night of the soul through your spiritual awakening. And we all go through one. Usually it's multiple at different times of our life. So the ego stands for edging God out, okay? E-G-O, the ego. And we don't want to edge God out. The ego is the inner voice that challenges our faith, right? It's the doubts and the fears. Remember in the first episode, I was talking about how when I was at church, how the sermon was all about God will bring you confirmation for a message from Him, and the doubts and the fears is the ego or the enemy trying to kill, steal, and destroy, okay? So they're very different energies. And we need both in order to create balance. As above, so below, light and dark, up and down, okay? So it creates balance. So the ego is the inner voice that challenges our faith. Ego makes you question your faith. We then find ourselves in fear. Faith is there to hold you when things go wrong, when things get hard. When things get hard, it's important to know that you have a spiritual practice in place. Kyle had an illness called Guillain-Barré syndrome, and he said that he was paralyzed for months and had migraines as a result of all of the spinal taps. I also had migraines most of my life. I can remember growing up. I was probably 8 or 10 years old, I think, when they started. And the migraines would come on sometimes out of nowhere. I would be totally fine 1 minute, and then I would have these debilitating migraines. And sometimes they would last like hours and hours. Sometimes it was days. As I got older, sometimes they lasted weeks, and nothing really seemed to get rid of them. Medications were tried. I remember as a kid, I used to have to lie in a cool, dark room, no lights, no sound, cool washcloth on my head, my neck, and had to take like ibuprofen and things and let it pass. I had to sleep it off. The weird part is every time that I would get one of these migraine attacks and I would sleep, I would also have what I call a download, or at that time I called it a dream. Usually it was a prophetic or predictive in nature dream, and I would have all these crazy crystal clear images that would come in my dreams. And so as I got older, instead of just brushing it off as, oh, I had a weird dream, I started to journal about them. I started to document them and write them down. Some of them actually happened in life. Some things that I predicted that were really strange, that I would have no reason to know this information whatsoever. And as I progressed through some of my spiritual awakening, I realized that these migraines were simply because I was blocking the channel that I was meant to receive the information. So as I started on this spiritual journey and I learned how to channel on command, or I learned how to open my energy and receive the energy, the migraines mostly stopped. Now, I won't say that they're completely gone, but when I do have them, it's more of a realization, okay, what am I blocking from receiving? Because Spirit's trying to communicate and I've closed the door, knowing or unknowingly, and so as a result, I'm getting this massive headache. Now, most of mine were a typical migraine where they would affect one part of my brain. Usually it was behind my right eye and my temple area here. Now, sometimes they would be different than that, and I would get a lot of tension in my shoulders, and it would create what's called a tension migraine. So all of the muscles around my head would get really, really tight, and it would create that migraine. So stress can contribute to things like that. That's why grounding and meditation work and deep breathing is so important, to release that energy, right? Because we want it to be able to flow. So that was one of the things from childhood that I experienced, was these chronic migraines. And there was no real known cause for why I had them. We brushed it off, oh, maybe it's hormonal, but I didn't usually get them around my cycle. I usually would get them at any other time. So for years, I had these migraines off and on. And it wasn't until I was probably in my 20s or 30s that I actually really tried to figure out what was causing them. I had a debilitating migraine that lasted 3 weeks with no relief from medication, sleep, de-stressing, anything like that. It was constant. And so I finally sought medical attention. And the first thing I remember the doctor asking me is, why did you wait so long? You should have gone to the emergency room. So some of these can be a medical emergency. So never dismiss what's going on in your body. Just because this was my experience doesn't mean that there couldn't be something medically going on. Many years later, I had a brain scan and an MRI just to double check, because I was still having issues and I was having spine issues and things like that. And so they did find some lasting effects on the MRI, some areas of concern that were contributing factors as a result of all the chronic migraines. It created a little bit of brain damage, okay? So migraine sufferers can actually have lasting effects. Now, mine isn't anything that's probably going to be like life-altering or anything like that, but I do have some issues once in a while with mobility. I have issues walking from time to time. They found a cyst in part of my brain, in my cerebellum, and so when that cyst is kind of growing, it creates other issues. I've had issues with vertigo. I've had issues with my hearing, my ability to walk and bend and move my limbs. So some of these could be contributing factors to what's happening energetically, spiritually, or it could be a medical issue. So I always recommend that if you think there's something medical going on, get that checked out and rule out anything that you think could be medically going on with your body. And if there's nothing there, then it could be spiritual, okay? So take all of that into consideration. So on the topic of migraines, I wrote in the book, I had migraines my whole life. They started in childhood, and every time I got a migraine, I was debilitated in bed for hours or sometimes days. I would dream very vividly when I finally fell asleep. I would later call the dreams visions. They were usually psychic, meaning that they told me things that had not happened yet in my life. I don't get migraines often anymore, thankfully, but occasionally I do still get them. I now know it's a clue to my body. I need rest and to open up to what spirit and my guides are trying to tell me. I found I still sometimes block the messages that they send. I'm either busy, haven't meditated or prayed enough, and I have let my ego get in the way of the real messages that I need to know. So I would pose a question to you. Do you have similar circumstances? It doesn't have to be migraines. It could be another part of your body that might be being affected. But are you open to receive the messages that your angels and guides are trying to communicate? Or are you potentially blocking them? Is the ego running the show, or is it your intuition? So Kyle gave us some specific prayers to help us when asking for our angels' assistance. Kyle said that angels are God's heartbeat and that we need to connect to them with gratitude. So a practice of gratitude, really just being grateful for everything that you have. It could be something really small. Thank you that I ate today. Thank you for my home that I live in, a car that I have to drive, the ability to love and care for other people. Thank you for the ability to see, hear, walk. Thank you for all of the blessings that you have given me and those that you still haven't. Practice gratitude. I promise you it's a game changer, and watch your angels show up for you when you really start to practice it. So one of the exercises that we're going to do is use a prayer or a speech. If you're struggling with the word prayer, it's words that we use to communicate, okay? So prayer number 1 that Kyle gave us. If there is an angel near me now, thank you for revealing your presence. Simple as that. Be grateful and thankful that they are there and that they want to connect and that they are there to encounter you and you them. Okay, so something very simple. So we're going to use this first prayer. We're going to clear our energy and then we're going to say it one more time. Thank you, angels. If there is an angel near me now, thank you for revealing your presence. I'm going to give you just a moment to set with that energy. Thank you, angels, if there are angels that are near, for revealing your presence to me now. And I definitely feel energy around me. You might not, and either is okay. So the second prayer that he gave us, thank you, angels, for revealing to me what I need to know. Now, when I use tarot to do readings, I typically will say something to the effect of, thank you, angels, thank you, spirit, show us what we need to see, show us what we need to know. You're going to start to incorporate some of these things into your life that feel comfortable to you. You don't have to use the exact ones that we list. You're going to develop what works best for you because you're going to develop relationship and connection with your guides. And you're going to start to talk to them as if they are a 3D physical person or your best friend, okay? And that's what they want. We want to make that connection so easy for us to talk to them that it's like second nature. It's like your best friend, a sibling, a husband, a wife, whoever you feel like you have that really tight connection with. That's what the angels want you to realize. They want you to come in and connect with them in that way. And when you've formed that bond, it's going to be really, really easy for you to know when something is for you or not. It's going to help you to have discernment to realize if things are harmful or not, so that you can make judgment calls that quick and know that spirit is always there guiding you, okay? So Kyle said that the angels work with music to convey messages. Now, that was something that really resonated for me. If you watch my tarot readings, you'll see I channel a lot of songs. So much so that I even created an entire tarot deck that is literally songs. And I use those in order to transmit the energy that I received from spirit to communicate the message that I am receiving telepathically in my mind through me, okay? So if we think about Maybe you all of a sudden hear a song on the radio, or you're out shopping and you hear it through the PA system, and it's like the lyrics invoke something in you, right? There's either like a realization, a download, a sudden knowing of something, and that may or may not happen to you on a regular basis. For me, music is always playing. I have like a jukebox playing in my head 24/7 of music. And it's almost like someone's dropped a quarter in there and shifted the song randomly, and I'll hear certain lyrics or a tune. Now, it could be something that I've only heard once in my life, but they're going to play enough of it for me to recognize it. Maybe I have to look it up, and figure out what it is, look at the lyrics, see if those resonate with me. But my mom that's in spirit will communicate through songs a lot for me. And it's usually music I don't listen to, but like I've heard once or twice in my life, so I might have a gist of the music that's playing, but I don't know the whole song. Okay. And so spirit tends to come in through music for a lot of us because music is a universal language. You don't even need words in a song to feel the emotions. It could be in a foreign language. You might still feel it in your heart and your soul. So spirit, your guides, may come through with songs. It might be something that's just been in your head, or you hear it over and over and over again. What is it trying to tell you? Listen to the song in its entirety. Look up the lyrics, see if something resonates. See if there is a connection between maybe somebody that is past in spirit that's trying to communicate through those certain lyrics. My mom will come through with songs that sometimes are really funny to me, that it's just silly, the things that she sends me, or something that's extremely heartfelt in order to communicate her feelings and emotions. I don't channel my mom. That's one of the things that most psychics will tell you, or most mediums will tell you. They don't often channel their own loved ones. We're here on a soul mission of service to help others. So it's almost like spirit's trying to keep us humble. And it's like they're not going to give us the winning lottery numbers or anything like that. We're here as an offering of service to the collective. So that makes me sad that I can't channel the one person that I would love to connect with. But she does come and communicate through other means. Sometimes it's dreams, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's animals, and we're going to get into sign symbols and synchronicities that you could be seeing and what some of those might be trying to tell you as well. So Kyle says that they use music to convey messages to us. The angels communicate in terms that we understand. They're not going to come in and give you a trigonometry problem, okay, and tell you that that's your sign. You have to learn that. You have to understand that. No, they're going to come in the most basic terms to get us to first wake up and recognize that they're communicating to us. So it's not going to be something that is so mind-boggling that we can't decipher the message, okay? So they will communicate to you in the best way to make it make sense to you. So they want you to know that. They communicate in terms you can understand. He also said that we need to pray first, not last, okay? So we start with a prayer. We start with a thank you. We start with gratitude, and then we ask for what we need. Thank them for their presence. Thank them for their knowledge, all of these things. And then they will start to open up the doorway for us. So pray in good times and in bad, right? There's song lyrics that come to mind, and I want to say it's a Jelly Roll song, something about, I only talk to God when I have a problem. He's there for so much more than just our woes, just our problems, just our negative times. But I feel like a lot of us have disconnected from that energy, and so maybe we do only pray in times of need. But God wants communication from us always, good days and bad days. He wants to be your best friend forever, okay? So just like the analogy of he wants you to communicate all the time, act like he's your best friend, okay? Maybe you sit with a best friend and you guys talk for hours about anything and everything under the sun. God wants that from you too, okay? So communicate often, good and bad times. Gratitude is also so important. Giving thanks and gratitude makes us a magnet for miracles, okay? And who doesn't want miracles to happen in their life? When you start to get in this habit of gratitude, you're going to start to see miracles literally happen on a regular basis in your life. Miracles literally happen every day. Are you open to receive them? If yes, then are you practicing gratitude? Because that is the key that unlocks those miracles. So we start with thanking our angels first, and then we ask for what we need, not just what you want. Okay, so there's a difference to that. So a need would be something that you really do have to have. Okay, so let's think of basic needs, right? Shelter, food, water, protection, money is always helpful, things like that that we need in order to survive. And then what do you want? Think of when we were kids and we'd go sit on Santa's lap, okay? And we'd sit there and we'd ask him for all these crazy things that we wanted, toys and whatever. So think of you like a little child that crawls up in God's lap and is asking for the things that we want. We start with our needs first after we thank them, okay? So that's super important. They're going to be more receptive to help you if you use gratitude first. So we don't want to just go in there with our list of demands. Angels, I need this. Angels, I really want this. Angels, bring me a Bugatti. That's not how it works, okay? It's just not. We have to start with thanking them and ask for things that we need, and then we can ask for things that we want. And they're going to be more apt to open the door and help you align things to bring those in. So thank you, angels, for showing me what I need to know. Ask to be led to your highest good, and thank you, angels, for opening up to abundance for my loved ones and myself. Thank you for the care and love that we may care for as well as others. Thank you for the care and love so we may care for others as well. Pray like your prayers are already answered. Okay, that's huge. Pray like it's already yours. That's a trick of manifesting. I don't want to call it a trick, but that's the best word that comes to mind. So manifesting is the art of putting the energy out there, believing that it's already yours, and speaking it into existence. Almost like, I don't know why a basketball is coming to mind, but a basketball is coming to mind. So let's say that you're going to go in for a slam dunk, okay? So let's say that the ball represents a manifestation and the net represents it actually coming into fruition. So as the basketball goes through the net, it's already happened, it's already yours, and Spirit is on its way to deliver it to you. It's already happened, right? Present tense, it's already yours. So powerful statements like I have and I am. I have $1 million in the bank. I am a magnet for blessings, okay? I have and I am. Put those out there and see what things start to come in for you. Thank the angels for the signs that they show us, all right? You might be seeing all sorts of crazy signs, symbols, or synchronicities. 1111 was one that I used to see all the time. I still tend to see it. 1 amplified is going to show you that you are on the right path and you are open to new beginnings, and they want you to continue. I also would experience things like the smell of roses, feathers, and more. Your angels are as loud as you are willing to listen. Sometimes they come through as a faint whisper. Are you tuned in or not? Sometimes they come through really, really loud, and they're going to show you signs, symbols, and synchronicities that are so in your face you cannot ignore them. And they do that on purpose. The signs mean that you're on the right path. You are not alone. And when you see those signs, the angels are with you, showing you the synchronicity. Kyle told us that your purpose is not your career. Your career can help you in your purpose, but the purpose is why you're here. Your job may be something totally unrelated. I did many other things in my life to earn a living before I transitioned to do my spiritual calling. Now, I will tell you, my spiritual calling doesn't always pay my bills. And I'm very grateful that my partner is able to cover most of that. And where I'm able to help, I do. But my purpose, my calling, is part of what I'm doing here, and hopefully in the future that will generate enough income to survive. But currently my purpose is to expand awareness and to help share the knowledge that I have so others can heal and fulfill their purpose and their calling. So I use all of the things that I've learned in order to fulfill that. So we finished with a guided meditation to connect with our angels. I saw the color yellow and then later green. Yellow is associated with the solar plexus, which is a chakra that sits just about the belly button, slightly above. And green is associated with the heart chakra. It sits in the center of your chest. Now, whatever colors you might see on a regular basis could be an indication of where you're receiving the energy. So think of the colors of a rainbow, okay? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, okay? And those coincide with our 7 main chakras. We have others, but for the purpose of this, we're going to focus with those. Those chakras are energy points that spirit can connect to us, and we can receive messages in those ways. We can also transmute energy or use that energy in a way that our body will understand a message. So part of these chakras is where you're going to receive some of the energy. So I receive a lot of messages through my solar plexus, which is the color yellow, sits around the stomach. Where do we get that gut feeling or that gut instinct? It's in your stomach, right? So that's your solar plexus. And then I receive a lot of them through my third eye, which would think about if you had an eyeball in the middle of your forehead, that's your third eye, okay? Seeing, feeling, hearing, knowing, all of that comes through here. And the crown chakra would sit on top of your head like a crown, okay? And so we're receiving that information through our thoughts, through telepathy. And then our mind's eye or our third eye is deciphering that energy. Our throat chakra, so we can communicate, right? Say it out loud, practicing the gratitude. Heart-centered, right? Not ego. We want the heart to be in control, our intuition connecting us to source energy. Are we starting to see a pattern? And then we go to our solar plexus, right? That's the energy center. That's where we receive our gut instincts. We then have the sacral, which sits in the lower abdomen, all about our pleasure center, sexual energy, creativity, all of those things. And the root chakra sits in between our legs at the base of our spine. And that is where we need to ground our energy, okay? So all of those, if they're in alignment, means that we are functioning on all 8 cylinders and that we are in divine alignment and we are able to receive as well as give, and we are open to what our guides and spirit has for us, all of the messages that come in. So let's see. So we finished with a guided meditation to connect to our angels. I saw the color yellow and later green. I heard in my mind, we are with you. Have faith. Let go of fear. Honor your worth. You are worth more than what you have known. I was having tears at the end. Kyle said that that is confirmation that our angels made a connection to us. So we're going to sit for just a minute and we're going to do a little bit of a meditation. So I'm going to close my eyes for this. We're going to use the sound bowl again and we're going to sit kind of in silence. And what I want you to do with this exercise as we close out this chapter of this is that we're going to see if we receive any messages in any of those areas of our body, whether it's in our mind, whether it's somewhere else in our body. And if you're taking notes, fantastic, but you don't have to. Kind of sit with the energy and see what are your angels or your guides trying to communicate. Do you get a word in your mind? Do you get a feeling or a sensation in your body? Do you hear music playing? What or how are they trying to communicate with you? So close your eyes and we're going to take 3 deep breaths starting now. Thank you, angels. We invite you to come in and connect with us. I would ask you, angels, to show your presence by any means necessary to communicate with who is watching this. I would ask for you to come in and deliver any messages in this time that they need to see, hear, feel, or know. And I would invite you to make it crystal clear to them with whatever the message happens to be, that they have their knowing of exactly what you are trying to communicate. Place both of your hands over your heart and continue to take deep breaths. Spirit, we invite you to share your wisdom with us. We invite you to deliver a message at this time for the greatest good of all involved. Your presence is always welcomed and appreciated. And we thank you for your wisdom. Now you guys can sit in this energy as long as you feel. And as we end things, you're going to close it with gratitude. You can simply say, thank you, angels, for your wisdom and your presence. And so it is. All right, we're going to move to part 3. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back. This is going to be part 3 of our Angel Protection 101. So on the 3rd day, we're going to focus on the signs, symbols, and synchronicities that you could be seeing or experiencing from your angels and your guides. Now, in my experience, they're going to show up really loud and crystal clear, but in the beginning, it might not feel like it's really clear. So we're going to use a lot of different resources in order to actually figure out what it is that they're trying to tell us. Now, in my book, Stepping Stones to Destiny, I have a whole chapter on different signs, symbols, and synchronicities. We're going to cover a couple of those, but you might not be seeing the same ones. So I would encourage you to look them up. What is the spiritual significance of, and insert the sign that you're seeing. Now, sometimes they're going to come through with repeating numbers, okay? And that happened to me a lot, especially in the beginning. They're called angel numbers. If I remember correctly, Kyle Gray has an entire book that's really, really thick, and it's got a gazillion numbers in it. So if you don't have the means to purchase that, you can simply Google the angel number, and then you're going to put in said angel number. We'll use 111 for an example. So you would Google, what does the angel number 111 mean? And then you can read what it means. Maybe you're seeing a random number like 627. Okay, so you would Google, what does the spiritual significance or angel number 627 mean? And read what it happens to mean for you. Whatever symbol you are seeing, there is usually a spiritual significance to it. Sometimes it's animals. I tend to see animals a lot. Maybe it's insects that you're seeing. There is always some sort of spiritual relation to what you're seeing. Your angels are going to come through in a way that makes sense to you. Maybe it's a piece of music. Maybe you need to figure out what the piece of music is and look at the lyrics and see if there's a secondary message that resonates with you. However your angel team wants to get in contact with you, they will. They will find a way, and they will start showing up. Now, I will tell you that some things are you just happen to see that, and maybe it doesn't actually hold a meaning. So not everything we need to read really heavy into, okay? That can create a lot of problems by itself. So if it's something that happens over and over again, I would say that's probably more likely a message. Now, once you're awakened to all of this, it doesn't go away. It tends to amplify. It tends to be more prevalent in your life. It tends to show up more and more, or amplified, okay? And so that's how you really start to realize, okay, there's something to this. There's also millions of us that see these on the planet, okay? We're in tune. We realize angels and spirits are communicating to us, and we are receptive to receive. And that's part of the bigger picture, is being open to actually receiving the messages. So what are some of these symbols, and how do they communicate, and what are they trying to tell us? So the 3rd day of the seminar was focusing on signs from our angels. I wrote, I'm very excited about this part. My whole life I prayed for signs. Everything from if my loved ones made it to heaven, to when to make a major life choice, or if I was on the right path in my life. I have always asked God for signs. I've seen many of them in my life. Some only made sense to me, but that's how it works. Some were so loud that I couldn't miss them unless you were blind. I find myself and my guides, my angels, communicate often in music. I have said many times in my life that if I couldn't say what I was feeling, I'd find a song that made it make very clear sense. Music has been a part of who I am my entire life. I loved singing and was in the choir as a kid. I sang all the time. I couldn't help but belt out some of it. As if it hits my soul and I have to sing my heart out. I still sing the lyrics that I'm hearing on repeat in my head. They're usually messages for me or someone that I know. I've even had music playing in my dreams. I'm not sure if others do too, but it's a regular thing for me. It could be a song that I only know parts of, and later I'll find out the exact lyrics are pertaining to something in my life. I found it amazing that our angels are speaking to us through music. When we recognize that the universe is sending us signs, so many things start to click into place. I believe very strongly in divine guidance. The signs are just a part of the guidance. I also believe if we open up and connect to Spirit and Source, that they will give us unmistakable signs in our life for our confirmation. I imagine a lot in life could be a sign, from symbols or animals, literal signs, nature. We all connect in different ways to different things. When I lost my grandmother, Helen, I would see monarch butterflies, bright yellow and black. I hear specific songs when my friend Jerry is around, who's also in spirit, or my former sister-in-law, Danon, who's also in spirit. My mom and I connect to flowers and sunlight and also the beach or crabs. I'm not sure why I associate certain things with people, but that's how it's always worked for me. I saw dogs and trumpets when my grandfather Lee passed away. Sometimes it's a smell like cologne or perfume that might make me think of somebody, like a trigger. My other grandmother, Edith, my dad's mom, it's often rose milk lotion and it smells like fresh roses. She used to wear it often. My other grandma, Helen, it's oil of Olay face cream. My friend Jerry, pipe tobacco, cherries, or vanilla. Danon, I smell Pantene shampoo or Love Smell perfume. My grandfather Lee, I smell the orange Trident gum or cigarettes. It's startling at first when you smell the things and then you're the only one in the room, right? So it's startling. We don't understand, like, where is that smell coming from? I smell it. I know I'm not crazy. I know I smell it. It's spirit trying to get your attention. So it can be startling at first when you're the only one in the room. Now I feel comforted by the fact that they are around and visit me. I'm always fascinated by how our brain can keep up from all of the memories or things like smells and music in an instant, right? It triggers a memory. It's right there in your mind like it happened yesterday. I also don't believe that it's a coincidence more than it is synchronicity. So I seem to know when they are around, when it might be close to an anniversary, a birthday, or the day that they passed. I feel it's their way of showing the living that we are still very much present. We know what is still going on with our loved ones that are left behind. I've noticed it happens more than it used to, or maybe now I just notice it more. I fully believe that they are always nearby, especially when things in our lives are especially hard. I'm learning that angels are usually with us as well, which I find amazing. Even when we feel low or down and know that we aren't alone, they are always with us. All we need to do is ask them to come to connect with us. I think we get to a point in our lives where we have to face our mortality. We know that we will all eventually die one day. I met a hospice nurse a while ago, many years ago at this point, at a friend's house. First of all, that's a super hard job. If you know what a hospice nurse is, they are people that are sent to help keep you comfortable and to help you prepare for your eventual death and passing, usually due to chronic illness. So let's think like cancer. It could be anything, but terminal illnesses, the end of life is the hospice nurse. And so they come in and they offer assistance to the family. They're there with you to help make you comfortable as you transition. Okay, and so that's what a hospice nurse does. I met one of these at a friend's house many years ago. And it was really interesting to sit and have a conversation with her. There was a few of us there after the fact, and we sat around and talked. So that's the backstory. So I personally believe that they are earth angels. I'm grateful someone is with people in their final moments and that no one has to go alone. So the nurse was a really sweet lady. She said that it was her honor to be there for the sick and the dying in their final months, days, or weeks. I think that she must have had nerves of steel. She told me that it was rewarding for her to know that she made them comfortable and gave them respect so that they could pass their way. The one thing that I struggled with when my mom passed was that she was alone. I came to change my mind that she was alone because of a dream that I had before her passing. My boyfriend's dad and mom, friends, my grandparents, they were all there to greet her when she transitioned to her higher self or her spiritual self. I mentioned that I saw an illuminated hallway or tunnel. After she passed, they again showed me that at the moment that she left her body, they were there to take her hand and to show her the way to the other side. That gave me so much peace, just to know that she wasn't alone and that she wasn't scared. It still makes me get teary. I'm so grateful to all of the angels and spirits and ancestors who go help with the transition to the other side. When leaving the living body to spirit, I know that I'm still grieving the loss of my mom, but I hope that in time I'll see her more frequently in spirit or dreams or however she comes to connect. It's odd to me to be, at the time, 40 years old and wish that my mom was still here. I just feel like I lost her early. I wish that we would have had more time. I understand it doesn't work like that, but I never imagined that it would affect me so profoundly when she died. She was my safe place. My mom was my best friend. Even though we used to fight over a lot of things as a teenager, and even when I was younger after I became a mom, my mom taught me so much I didn't even realize until I lost her. She gave me so many life skills, so many spiritual gifts, and she definitely had a huge faith in God. My mom lived through a lot of really hard things in her own life. She somehow never gave up. She was a wonderful example of how a lady should be. She was kind to almost everyone that she met. She loved all of her grandkids. She had 10, 6 biological and 4 step. They were what she loved about her later years. It's funny to see your parents with grandkids. My mom and I fought a lot when I was younger. So I go on to talk about my relationship with my mom and how she taught me a lot of things. And one of those was that I ended up having stepdaughters, and it was a really difficult dynamic for me. And I used to pray all the time, like, how do I navigate this? How do I do this? And one of the things that I mentioned in there was I remember one time calling her about parenting issues and struggles I was having with my own stepkids. And I asked her, how did you let me live? Kind of sarcastically, like, how did you let me live? How did you deal with all of the tantrums and the fights and all of the crazy that was always going on? And she said, kind of with a chuckle, well, I lived, you'll survive. Later you'll look back at this and you're going to learn something from it, basically. But I told her that I was sorry and that I know I was a horrible teenager. And I wrote that it's my karma. I know that it is, right? So like everything that we put out is something we're eventually going to receive. It might come in a different form, but it's part of the circle of life to get us to really learn from all of these things that we're experiencing in life. And if you look at my social media, my channel is called Karma Walking, right? And so I've always been the type of person that I either really resonate with you and you really like me as a human being, or you can't fucking stand me. You do not like anything about me. I irritate your very soul. And there's a reason for that. Part of my calling here is that I'm supposed to be an energetic mirror for those people that I encounter. Some people are drawn to me because of my energy, because of what I do. Some people, they don't know why they want to be in my energy, but they know that they are and they enjoy it. And other people scatter kind of like cockroaches. They're like, I don't want to be around her at all. I'm irritating your inner wounding or your demons that need to be dealt with. So if I affect you in a positive way, that's great. If I affect you in a negative way, it's still great, because you're energetically starting to have to face those things in order to evolve. And we're all going to be faced with that at some point on our journey. So one of the things that started to happen as a result of losing my mom through tragedy, there we go, was I had these angel visits that happened prior to that. I also had a prophetic dream that happened roughly a month before my mom had passed. Why do I keep talking about all this? Because it was part of my evolution, and my angels, my spirit team, facilitated these shifts, these changes with me. So in the weeks leading up before I had the crazy dream that my mom had died, I was being startled awake out of a dead sleep. What felt like a floodlight was turned on, a really bright light. In my bedroom, I don't have a TV on purpose. I sleep in a primarily pitch black room because I have difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep, and I have my whole life. Sometimes I'll see shadow people, sometimes I'll hear spirit, and I get hiccups for confirmation when I start channeling. So I tend to have all these elements that are always around. And as a medium, it's really difficult for me to unwind and calm my mind away from all of the chatter that I pick up energetically. So I sleep in a pitch black room on purpose. My dogs typically sleep down there, and that's about it. So one night, I remember I was startled awake. I thought somebody had turned on a really bright light, and it woke me up out of a dead sleep. And when I opened my eyes, it's pitch black. So I thought, what in the world? What? I know somebody just turned on a light. It was like crystal clear to me. I could see it. I could feel it. So think of if you're sound asleep in the dark and someone clicks on a light, you know the light's been turned on, right? You can see it even with your eyes closed. So this encounter was starting to become a habit in my world. And I would say for probably 3 weeks or more, every night I would be falling asleep and I would jolt awake and I would feel like someone had turned on a bright floodlight, and it would wake me up. And I started to become concerned, because this was prior to my spiritual awakening, that something was going on with me in my body. I thought, am I about to die? Like you always hear, they see the bright white light, you know, and tunnel vision and things like that. And that I really couldn't understand what the heck was happening, but it happened on a nightly basis for weeks prior to all this stuff unfolding. So we fast forward a few weeks, I'm still having these encounters, is the best way I can describe it, of this bright white light, and I wake up and it's still black. There's nothing there. There's not a person in the room. It's just me and my dogs, and everything is quiet. It's the middle of the night, and I'm startled awake by this bright white light. So I start trying to do any sort of research that I could to figure out what was causing this. And to the best of my ability, the only thing that made any sort of sense was an angel visitation. So in my research, I was trying to figure out what would cause this. Are there medical things going on? Saw my doctor, had scans, had blood work, and everything came back relatively normal, with the exception of they found a few anomalies in my brain, but nothing that would cause like hallucinations or anything to that effect. So I was puzzled. Didn't really know what to think of it, so I chalked it up to it's got to be angels coming to communicate. Angels can appear in any form that they so choose, but for me, they typically won't come in a human form, although they have on occasion. They typically, for me, come in the form of pure white light. And it's so bright, it's so blinding, almost like you can't really look at the sun with your naked eye. You need sunglasses, and you really shouldn't be looking at it because it's that bright. Or like a welding torch, you have to wear special glasses so you don't damage your eyes, right? It's blinding. That is the type of light that I'm describing. Blinding white light. But it didn't hurt when I looked at it, okay? So that's the difference. It did not hurt my eyes. It was something that felt pure, it felt loving, it felt safe, and it felt like as a child you go and get a hug from, let's say, your grandparent, right? All-encompassing in love, purity, and protection, right? Nothing negative, no malice, no anything like that. Simply love, energy. So when I encounter divine energy, God, source, spirit, the universe, the Holy Spirit. That is what I encounter when I channel. Angels come through in the same form of energy for me. And so while you may or may not see them like that, they might come in a human form, they might come in an animal form, they will communicate in a way that makes you feel safe, because that is what they want you to understand, is that their presence creates safety for you and others, okay? So fast forward, I have these startling encounters with this white light, and then I have a dream, at the time felt more like a nightmare, about my mom. And in my dream, I see that we're scrambling trying to get a hold of her. We couldn't reach her on the phone. We couldn't get in touch with her through any means necessary. And so in the dream, I find out through the grapevine or through the police department that my mom had passed away, and that we were notified through them that she had passed away. And we didn't know for several weeks, because I lived at a significant distance from her and I didn't see her on like a regular basis. It was like every couple of weeks when I would go to visit my other children that didn't live at home any longer. So I'd make the rounds and I'd go see her, I'd go see them, and we'd spend a couple hours together and then I'd come home. So that was our routine for many years. And so in this dream, I see what looks like an illuminated tunnel or hallway, almost like if you looked at a football stadium and how they're coming out of the locker room, and there's people staggered throughout this illuminated hallway, and they're people that I recognized, family, friends, my grandparents, my boyfriend's parents that had passed that I had never met. All of these people, and they've all got these giant smiles on their face, and they're all excited. It's like something's about to happen and they're happy, they're excited. So I refer to them lovingly as the welcoming committee. Now, in my dream, I had two different dreams. One was about my mom passing and that we had to find out through the grapevine. The other was about this illuminated hallway. And then I had a third dream that showed me my boyfriend's parents, Jimmy and Marcy, who I'd never met while they were alive. They've come in multiple different times in dreams and other things to communicate things with startling accuracy over the years. And they were the first people that showed up in the third dream that showed how the events unfolded when my mom actually passed. So in the third dream, I see Jimmy, the dad. I see him reaching out his arm to my mom and her grabbing his hand and him pulling her spirit out of the body. And in a second, she was gone out of her body and into her spirit form. And I watched them escort her into this illuminated hallway with her parents and siblings and friends and family and all of these people. And it's like they're getting ready for this giant party or celebration. And they're basically escorting her to the other side into heaven. And that's when the dream ends. I just see this ball of white light at the end of the hallway, this illuminated tunnel, and they all escort her to the other side. Now I will tell you the reality of what I dreamt versus what actually happened. In the time frame that the first dream started with the angel encounter and the bright white light, I have a dream that my mom passes and we find out through the grapevine, and I have the third dream after she actually passed away. My mom passed alone in her apartment. She lived about an hour and a half drive from where I do, and I had seen her literally the day before that it would have happened. So we went shopping, we had a bite to eat, we sat and chatted for hours. I was newly diagnosed with a chronic illness called fibromyalgia, so chronic pain, and I was really tired and I needed to get home and rest. And so I told her, I'll come up later this next week and I'll cut your hair and we'll sit and talk some more, but I need to go home. I'm just exhausted. So my ears ringing for confirmation. So angels are definitely with us. I take her to her apartment. It was at the height of COVID, so everything was in lockdown. I wasn't allowed to go in or anything. And so she waves, I hugged her, told her I loved her and everything. And she goes inside. I drive home. A few weeks pass by. I'm at a doctor's appointment with one of my kids, and I'm in the lobby, and I get a text message from one of my nieces that I don't really see very often, and she's asking if I had heard from Grandma, my mom. And I said, I haven't seen her in a little bit, what's going on? It was unusual for her to call me, first of all, and she said a lady that had lived in my mom's apartment building that was friends with her, my niece was friends with the granddaughter. So they called to offer condolences for my mom's passing, her grandmother. And I said, that's kind of concerning. Let me make some phone calls. Let me get an answer for you, and I will call you back. Try not to panic. So I first start trying to call my mom. No answer. I Facebook her. I text her. I call her. I leave voicemails. I'm getting nowhere. So I decide, well, I'm going to call her office at her building and have them go do a welfare check on her, because that's concerning, right? No one wants to find out through the grapevine that their family member has died, and other people know before you know. So I call them, I contact somebody, and I explain the situation, and that somebody has relayed information that my mom might have passed away. Can somebody go check on her? I'm an hour and a half drive away, and can they give me a call back and let me know? Yeah, sure, we'll go do that for you. So like 45 minutes goes by, I don't hear anything. At that point, I kind of start to panic a little bit. We leave the doctor's office. I call my boyfriend and I tell him what's going on. And I said, I think something's happened to my mom, and I'm kind of panicking. And he said, well, get home. I'm on my way. I'll be there soon. So by the time we both meet up there, I still hadn't heard from her apartment complex. So I called the local police, told them the situation. They went to go do a welfare check. Probably about another 20 or 30 minutes pass, and the phone rings, and it's them. And the woman's advocate, that this is her whole job, is she has to deliver this awful news to people, was so kind and so patient with me. And her name of all names in the world was Marcy. That was John's mom's name that's in spirit. So right there, I was a little reassured. And I'm going to try really hard to get through this part without completely falling apart. But it is a difficult chapter that I'm still working through the grief, because we're all human. So I don't remember most of what Marcy told me on the phone after she delivered the news that they had entered my mom's apartment and that they heard water running in the bathroom. Keep in mind, she lived in a 1-bedroom little studio apartment, so it wasn't a big place. And they said that when they entered the bathroom, they did find her deceased, but that the water was running. She wasn't submerged, so they knew that she didn't drown. The drain was open and the water was running, and that she had clearly been there for some time. They didn't know exactly how long. And then she asked if I had people with me, because that's, unsettling news to get. So I said, yes, I have family here and everything. And she asked if there was any family members that she could notify for me. And I said, yes, I have one sibling. If you could contact them, I would appreciate that. I'm not really in a position to want to relay that news. So she contacted my sister, and that started the whole ball rolling. So my dream indicated all of these things that there's no reason I should have known was going to happen. Angels were coming to offer support, because this was going to be the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Your spiritual awakening will rattle you to your core in a way that you are not prepared for, but the angels know that it's necessary to get you to the next step. Now, the angels are always going to come through with support, okay? And that's really important to preface by saying this. No matter what you go through in your life, you can always draw on support from the angels, your guides, or God. And that's something that I've been through a lot of things in my life. And if you read my autobiography, Stepping Stones to Destiny, you'll understand. I'm just like you guys. I'm no different than you. I've experienced a lot of tragedy and loss in my own world. And part of my spiritual calling is to help others see they're not alone. I'm human just like you. I've gone through things just like you. And I know that there's probably more hurdles that I'll experience in life, but I experienced a lot of things really early in my life that helped shape me into what I'm supposed to be doing. If you would have told me 5+ years ago that this is what my calling would entail, is that I'd have to basically bare my naked soul to the general public to help people, I would have said, not this girl, not me. I am not that person. I'm not going to do that. And Spirit had other plans. So while this is always uncomfortable for me to be vulnerable like that, I'm learning that that's part of my purpose. It's what makes me relatable on a human level to other people that are going through grief, loss, and trying to figure out life. And that's part of what I designed this course to be about. So I share a lot of my personal stuff in this because you're not alone. And Spirit will use me or other people to show you that you're not alone and that you will always have help and assistance no matter what you're going through. So let's discuss some of the signs, symbols, or synchronicities that you yourself could be seeing. Some of the things that I was seeing were numbers, okay? So numbers were a big thing for me. I write in here, I'm in my office writing this, and I look at my calendar. The picture on it is of a lighthouse, and it has a spiral staircase on the outside of the building. The verse of the month is Psalms 43, verse 3. Send out thy light and thy truth. Let them lead me. Okay, so that was pretty profound for me at the time. When I took Kyle's quiz to see what angel I should try and work with, I got Metatron, Michael, and Raphael. So Metatron will connect to you through things like sacred geometry or something called the Fibonacci sequence. It's things that occur naturally in nature, are in perfect harmony, perfect proportions. Now, I have a background in hair. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, have been since about 2011. And that was one of the things that we learned, proportions and how to make things look pleasing to the eye. And some of them happen naturally in nature. So Metatron comes through with sacred geometry. I've encountered his energy a few times. Archangel Michael, which we've already discussed, and Raphael, who's also come through. The dream that I had last night had to do with snakes. I'm now researching the meaning of the symbols that I'm seeing all of the time. In Kyle's class today, he went over a lot of the signs and symbols. He first explained how to connect to the angel cards, which I have a few decks that are his that are about angel cards. He said that they are a mirror of what we need to know. He said the first card is the strength or something that you have already done. He also said we can and should pray for others by connecting to their angel. Have you ever needed something to change and it's like you're talking to somebody till you're blue in the face and nothing happens? Instead, he encouraged us to communicate with their higher self or their angelic being and try and get things resolved in the spiritual instead of the natural. So that was important. Let's see. Angels, thank you for touching a person, insert their name, with healing hands and love for their highest good. He also said that animals, especially furry ones, have angels too. Yes, you can also pray for them. So I have 2 dogs and they're my children, my little fur babies. And you can also pray to connect with their energy or their angels as well. I personally think that most furry creatures, animals in general, are angelic beings sent here to help us. All right, so he said, how do we know if it's our angel or ego coming in and communicating with us? So he said that if it's ego, it's fear-based, right? Remember the first episode of this that I was talking about, the revelation in church, where it's going to come from God, it's coming with confirmation, and the ego is fear, confusion, or hesitation. So it will, if it's ego, it's fear-based, and it will bring with it anxiety, fear, doubt, heat, and bad feelings. If it's angelic, it comes with peace, love, and an unexplained calm in times of trouble or worry. So in the dreams that I was having prior to my mom passing, I felt at peace. I felt love. I felt comfort. I wasn't afraid after the first couple of visits. I was a little dumbfounded, like what's happening, but I wasn't afraid. So I feel like that's important to note as well. So the ego has time constraints or a promise of what's to come if you act now equals lies. So the ego comes in with, you have to act now, like it's time sensitive. You have to do this or else, right? Creating fear. So angels come as a voice of love. How do you feel? Let your heart guide you. That was incredibly important. So is the ego in charge, creating fear, like it has to happen right now or else? Or is it from love? We encourage you to do this. This would be for your highest good. We would love for you to experience blah, 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 XYZ in a positive way. Sit with those feelings and emotions. It's going to guide you what's really working or not. That's my dog, Magnus. He's one of my 2 dogs. Theodore's in here as well. All right, so let's see, signs. So I see most of the ones that Kyle listed and several more, as I'm sure you will as well. Probably because I have prayed my whole life to see them, to see signs. I also look for them and I try to acknowledge them when I see them. I think angels send more when I ask. So thank you, angels, for the signs that you show me. Now, again, some of the signs that I saw were numbers repeating all the time. I'd happen to glance up and see what time it was, 11:11, 1:11, 2:22, 3:33, etc. down the line, right? So 11:11 was one that I saw all the time. It was one of the first signs that I really remember seeing. I see this often, and I also see 111, 11, or 1. Also other number sequences. So what does it mean? 11:11 means that the universe is telling us that we are all one. It is also a call to action. We are all connected and interconnected as one. At the moment that you are in alignment with Source, God, and the angels, and your thoughts are creating that moment. So it means that you're in perfect alignment or you're on the right path when you see the number 11:11. What about feathers? I used to find feathers. I wore this shirt on purpose for this exact reason. Feathers. Now it is illegal, I think, in most places to collect feathers. Okay, so be careful with that. You don't want to get in any sort of trouble. Maybe you take photographs of them so you can remember, whatever you happen to do. I find feathers in the most random places, all different colors of feathers. And I've always believed that it's angels sending me signs. So the color can be really significant to what the message is. So let's say you find a black feather. Black is a symbol of protection. Think of it as absorbing all of the yucky energy, and the black is actually like reflecting back protection. Okay, so the color means something. So feathers are sent to us. Angels send feathers. Angels are beings of light. If you find a feather in an odd place where it wouldn't normally be, it's an angel message. All different colors. Black feathers are protective. It's showing you that it's okay to be different, be yourself. All colors mean something different, so look up the color for the exact meaning. So are you seeing feathers in your path in random places? Birds. Birds can be really incredibly important examples of spirit or angel energy. Most winged creatures of any kind are from the angelic realm. So Kyle used a robin redbreast as an example. He said that they are usually a past loved one that's visiting us. I've seen many of them many times, along with blue jays, hawks, eagles, crows, and others. I remember I was going to a family member's funeral a year or so ago, and I was running late. We had had a horrible snowstorm. It was about an hour or so out of my way. I was having car problems, and I was super, super late, thought I was going to miss the service, and I thought, well, I'm going to get there and at least see my family even if I missed the service. So as I'm on my way to get there, I see a giant bald eagle sitting on the side of the road, and he had like captured a fish or something. I don't even know where he would have found that. And he was literally eating a fish on the side of the road. This eagle was literally about 2.5 or 3 foot tall, massive. It's like you don't realize quite how big they actually are. And he just kind of looked at me and went back to eating his fish. And I thought, of all the things I could see on my way to this particular family member's funeral, an eagle. It was significant. So their dad had passed away, my uncle, many years before, and they always saw eagles and associated it with him. So it could be a real specific symbol that you associate with a specific angel or a family member that's passed as a way for them to communicate. So pay attention to those. The animal kingdom, especially the furry animals, dogs or cats, are often angels in a body that we can be close to. The word dog spelled backwards is God, G-O-D-D-O-G. Do you think that's a coincidence? Because I don't, right? Why do we call dogs man's best friend? We're supposed to be in communion with them as a way to communicate with God. That the love that our animals give us is the purest form and lets us know that we are connected to God in loving our animals as God loved us. What about butterflies? Do you see butterflies often? They symbolize transformation. I see these all the time too, even have one tattooed on me. It also is a sign the lost loved ones have made it into heaven and is free of pain and at peace. So butterflies symbolize transition, transformation, metamorphosis, and change. So if you see butterflies often, that's what it's trying to show you, is change. Dragonflies, that's another one that's a big symbol for me. They symbolize self-realization, understanding the deeper meaning of life, and seeing a bigger picture, a change in perspective. Signs are proof that we are not alone. When we question signs, it's because we feel like we're not worthy of it, but we are. Believe the signs that you are given. When you get a sign, Kyle said that there are 3 things that we need to know. A, you are not alone. You are in pure alignment with angels and you are worthy. So that's number 1. You are worthy of receiving these signs. They would not give them to you if they were not meant for you. You were meant to see these at that exact moment, so don't discount the signs. Number 2, you are on the right path. When you see a sign, you are in the presence of angels. Acknowledge it. When the signs show up, you're doing it and you're on the right path. Acknowledge it. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, angels. I see that. I appreciate you. Practice gratitude. They will show you more. And number 3, ask what I need to know. Close your eyes. What do I need to know? Or pull an angel card if you have some, and what do they tell you or show you? So ask the angels when you see that sign, what do I need to know from this symbol you're showing me? What is it you want me to know? And sit with it and see what they communicate. Maybe they give you another symbol, maybe they give you clear knowing, but they are going to show you a way that you can understand. So in our last and final section, we're going to go over all of these other signs that I personally experienced. Maybe you also experienced some of these, to give you a little bit a better understanding of what the angels are trying to show you, how they might communicate, and what some of these mean. Again, if you're seeing totally different signs, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. That's your angels trying to communicate with you in a way that you understand. So if you're seeing repeating symbols, signs, numbers, or synchronicities, look the spiritual meaning of any of those up and see what the message is. Join us in our final part. All right, welcome back. So this is going to be our final section of this course, Angel Protection 101. So thank you for participating in this. I do hope that you get to connect to your angels. I know that you will. Take your time and know that it's not a rush. They're going to come in and connect with you when you are ready to receive the messages. And then once you've opened that channel, be prepared. They're going to connect with you on a regular basis. They want to connect to you. It's very important. That's how they're able to do their job, is by connecting to you. So one of the things I want to talk about is another dream that I had several years ago now. I had a dream that I was in this really dark space. It was pitch black. And in the darkness, I could see these little puffs of fire, little puffs of flames of smoke and fire. And as this entity got closer to me, I could see this glistening armor and a helmet being removed. And then I could see these piercing blue eyes. And a man stepped forward, or what looked like a man to me in my dream. And I was startled. I was like, what is happening? And he instantly introduced himself as Michael. And I said, Archangel Michael? Confused, like, what are you doing here? And he acknowledged and said yes. And in that split second, he flips himself around and he draws his flaming sword and his shield and he slays a dragon in front of me, and it falls at my feet. And I thought, what in the world is happening, right? This dream is pretty out there. And so he kind of slams his sword into the serpent and he says, I'm here to offer protection from all forces seen and unseen. And then I am made aware in my dream of another energy, another presence that was a female energy. And she steps forward out of the darkness, and she had beautiful long dark hair, big brown eyes, very beautiful to look at, and she introduces herself as Lilith. Now, my reference at that point to Lilith was I didn't know much about her. I knew that she was kind of a otherworld deity or demonic energy. And so she came forward saying that she was offering energetic protection in my line of work going forward from all of the lower frequency energies, all of the negative, demonic, or spiritual attacks that I might receive. The two of them were working in tandem along with other spirits, and I'm getting chills now, that they were coming to basically help create a force field of protection for me to do the work that I'm called here to do. So when I woke up that morning, I opened up my social media to check messages and everything. And the first video that I came across on my TikTok channel was a person I had never seen before. And I kid you not, the story that he was telling was about Michael, Archangel Michael, slaying the dragon or the serpent. And he quoted a part in the Bible. It's in the book of Revelations, 12, verse 7 through 9. So it says, when war broke out in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough. The dragon was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. Tell me that's not a synchronicity. I'll wait. I don't believe in coincidences. I think that was a clear message from my guides and the angels telling me that you are 100% going to be facing spiritual attack throughout your lifetime, and we're here to intercede on your behalf. We're here to offer spiritual, energetic, and angelic protection from all of these things that you're going to face in order for you to do this work that you're called here by God himself to do. Here we are. So that's one thing that I don't really read the Bible, okay? That's something that I don't find God in a book. I find God in nature. So I'm a little bit more witchy. I'm a little bit more pagan, but I absolutely connect to God. I absolutely connect to angels. And I know that their presence is real, and I know that I connect to it on a regular basis. God is my boss. I follow the leads that he tells me to follow. I do the things that he tells me to do. I do still argue sometimes because I'm human, but I've learned over my lifetime that it's easier just to do what he asks me to do because he opens doors that I never could. And so I don't know who's going to eventually watch these messages, but whoever happens to come across that, know that what you are picking up is real. Know that spiritual warfare is happening every single day all around us globally, and we are at a precipice of change in the world, and we're going to start to see some of these things play out in our 3D reality. So let's get into these sign symbols and synchronicities. So in our last part, I was talking about I was on my way to a cousin's funeral and I happened to see a giant bald eagle on the side of the road. So some of the other signs that I were seeing were an eagle, signs from a higher perspective. I heard an eagle eye view in a reading I did for a cousin. The view from above is different from that of one on the ground. See the bigger picture, change your perspective. So eagles soar above all of it, right? They soar high above the tops of the trees and they can see all of the vantage points from their perspective, right? So can God. So if you're seeing eagles, it's an indication you need to see the bigger picture and also change your perspective. What about black butterflies? I occasionally would see a black butterfly. It's also a symbol of protection. Black is a protecting color. Butterflies are about transformation. He gave us a prayer to thank our angels. Kyle did. So thank you, angels, for guiding me to be more like you. So we are going to do a little bit of a meditation as I read this part to you. And then I want you to see if any signs or symbols show up for you as well. So, like attracts like. Love, authenticity, realness, truth are all ways that we can connect to our angels. You are light. Stand, hand on your heart. I am the light. So we're going to start. So a couple of deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth as we start. And I'm going to use our sound clearing to clear the energy. All right, so we're going to start with our cleansing breaths. 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And you want to hold on the exhale a few seconds, breathe it out really slow. So we're going to do 3 of those. Close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. Ready? Here we go. Thank you, angels, for guiding me to be more like you. With your hand on your heart, we're going to listen to these and we're going to see if there's any sort of symbols that come into our mind. Like attracts like. Love, authenticity, realness, truth are all ways that we can connect to our angels. You are light. Hand on your heart. Say out loud, I am the light. Strengthen your spiritual muscles through sharing. It can be praying for others, a conversation, sharing knowledge, social media, or any means of sharing what you have learned. Align with service and devotion. Through working with angels, you strengthen your connection. Align to service. How can I help? Thank you, God, angels. How can I serve the world through my experiences? I believe writing my book will help people going through something painful. If my sharing what I have lived through is helpful to others, then it was all worth it in the end. Thank you, angels, for this experience to share my knowledge and what I have learned. Thank you, angels, for the blessing that you have given us to share this wisdom with others who are also experiencing it. So one more thing that I want to address is the different characteristics about the archangels. Remember, I said there's typically 3. We have Archangel Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. We also have Archangel Metatron. Now, I can't remember where the test was that I got to figure out which archangels were ones that I worked with or were working with me. So I don't have that to share with you, unfortunately, but I'm sure there's probably something online that you can find. So one of the things that I found when I took the quiz that Kyle had given us and posted to the class was that I got Archangel Michael. So it said that his job, as I understood it, was protection, right? And that makes sense with him slaying the dragon in the dream that I had. Michael means one who is like God. He was created in God's image. Michael can cut cords of energy that no longer serve us. He can protect us from the evil of the devil or the enemy because he is a great protector. The second one that I got was Metatron. He is one of the few known to have first walked to the earth as a human. So not all of the angels did. God created the angels, but some of them were also human. Metatron was one of them. So Metatron means the throne who is next to God. He represents new energy and connections that are opening to other worlds and heaven. He will help connect you to the wisdom of heaven and angels and God in your everyday life. So that's Metatron. The final angel that I connected to on the quiz was Raphael, and he was present several times as well. So Gabriel is another one. Let's see, it was Michael and Raphael I believe, that I encountered in church that one Sunday. I think I said it was Gabriel, but it was actually Raphael. And then Gabriel, I've only encountered like once or twice in different circumstances. So the final angel that I connected to on the quiz was Raphael. He is the angel of healing, travel, and spiritual sight. His name means he has healed. I have always known that I wanted to help people heal. I used to want to be a nurse or an EMT. They use the caduceus symbol in medicine. So we see that it's like angel wings with like a snake that's wrapped around a pole. So that's the caduceus symbol, and I definitely saw that a lot. I looked it up, and it's the winged staff with two snakes intertwined on it. Last night, I had a dream about snakes, and they were intertwined together. They bit me in the hand, the healing hand. It is all I could think of after looking up the dream. The symbol is also a symbol of Mercury, and we are currently in Mercury in retrograde. We are, as I film this, as well, ironically enough. That is not a coincidence, and I know it is all part of the divine plan for my life. This led me to look at a list of other symbols that I regularly see in my own life, one of those being a fleur-de-lis. So if you watch American football, the New Orleans Saints, their symbol is the fleur-de-lis. So it kind of looks like a cross that it's hard to describe unless you've seen it, but once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So it's got like a part in the middle with leaves coming out. I want to say it's like a lily or something. So this fleur-de-lis symbolizes life, protection, and light. The car that I used to have was called a Caprice, and it had the fleur-de-lis all over it on the steering wheel and little emblems. I'm also a New Orleans Saints fan, American football team. Their symbol is also the fleur-de-lis on the uniform. The infinity symbol, right? It's a figure 8 on its side, right? And it's going back and forth. Looks like a number 8 on its side. It symbolizes limitlessness, or eternity. Spiritually speaking, it's a sign of love, beauty, and power. In a chaotic world, it can be about balance and simplicity. Remember, we were talking about the Fibonacci sequence having to do with purification, with perfection. That's what it symbolizes, as protection. So it's a mathematical formula that is all about sacred geometry, and that's how Metatron will connect with me sometimes. It represents beauty, proportion, and balance, a way to see the deeper beauty in life. It has also been called the divine proportion, meaning that it's mathematically perfect in every way. So it symbolizes perfection in nature. So if we think of flower petals, let's use like a daisy as an example. It's going to have an exactly perfect number of petals to be the same all the way around, okay? We see that in seashells, right? So they're perfectly proportioned. Sometimes they have like spirals or rings on them, things like that. And we start to see this in nature. What about the eye of God? It's on our money, on our dollars in America. The all-seeing eye, or the eye of Horus. This is said to be the all-seeing eye of God. The eye is protection from God, or protection of God, and is said to ward off evil energy. We've talked about eagles, we've talked about robins. Blue jays are another symbol that I was seeing. They symbolize long friendships. They tend to have only one mate in life, so it can also symbolize loyalty, love, and endurance. Spiritually, it indicated vision and clarity, interconnectedness, intelligence, curiosity, and energy. Serpents and snakes. Well, I've had dreams about those more than a few times, unfortunately. And I don't particularly care for snakes. They're not my forte. So snakes or serpents symbolize healing, transformation, rebirth, immortality, rain, storm guardians, charm, evil, and metamorphosis. The Celts believed that snakes are gatekeepers to the other worlds. Now that I know more about what my dream meant, it makes more sense. It was a sign that I am on the right path, and I am also a healer. Snakes also symbolize Kundalini energy, which is basically hidden energy that is coiled around the base of the spine, and it leads to enlightenment and becoming your best self. This ties into twin flame unions as well. The Kundalini rising is a symbol of a coiled snake at the base of the spine. It is the energy that we can unlock with meditation. And if you are a twin flame, when twins come into union, it is said to have a Kundalini rising, or the snake unfolding. It is said that the Kundalini is the divine feminine power, waiting to join her masculine and feminine energies into one. In Greek culture, it is the goddess of the moon and fertility. What about the heart symbol? It's my favorite emoji, right? So I send little hearts out everywhere I go. So if you ever get an email from me for a reading or something, I usually close it with a heart. Text messages, I close it with a heart. Written communication, I draw a heart. Like, it's been in my world forever. So operating from my heart space, right? So a heart is a symbol of love associated with divine feminine power, the water element, intuition, psychic abilities, emotions, transition, and motion. It is probably my most used emojicon or emoji. I send it all the time. So I look at it as I'm sending my love everywhere that I go. What about ravens? This one is rather new to me when I started seeing it. I have seen it in my yard in the last few weeks or months. The raven is a black bird and is a messenger of the gods. It symbolizes high intelligence, keeper of cosmic secrets. Odin, the Norse god, is depicted with ravens and is said to have sacrificed an eye to the gods to gain the knowledge of the gods, or omnipotent, all-seeing, all-knowing abilities. Now, in one of my decks that I have Odin, and he is depicted with ravens in his card. So if you see ravens, it's a symbol of hidden wisdom or knowledge coming in, and they want you to intercept that knowledge. We talked about feathers. I was also seeing a yin-yang symbol. So one side is dark and has a white dot. The other side is light and has a black dot. They're polar opposites. The opposites creating the balance, right? Light and dark, up and down, as above, so below, right? We need that to create the balance. So it's a circle with a dark swirl and a light swirl. The dark circle, or the dark swirl, has a light dot in it, and the dark swirl is the feminine or the yin energy. It's associated with the shadows and the trough of a wave. The yang is the masculine, the light swirl, brightness, passion, and growth. They are balanced and equal. They are in harmony with one another. They are two halves that together make a whole. Again, this can also have a twin flame connection if the two souls are split in half, but together make the whole soul. One does not exist without the other. What about lotus flowers? Now, if you watch my YouTube channel, I have a podcast, and my symbol for the thumbnail is a lotus flower that's in bloom. There's many reasons for that, but the long and the short of it is that a lotus symbolizes growing and blooming in spite of your circumstances. And through my metamorphosis, through my challenges, the angel showed me how to bloom in spite of my circumstances. So it grows in muddy water. It's beautiful bloom. It rises above the murky water and blooms in spite of its circumstances. It symbolizes purity, enlightenment, and self-regeneration and a rebirth. It is a great analogy for humans. Its roots grow in the dirtiest waters, but the lotus produces the most beautiful flowers. So Spirit might be showing you lotuses for you to bloom in spite of your circumstances. No matter where you come from, Spirit can elevate you and you can bloom anyways. What about a conch shell? Have you ever seen one? I just so happen to have one in my office. My mom had it in our house growing up. It's a giant seashell, and there's a little sea creature that lives inside of these, and you find them in places like Hawaii or around oceans. And some of them are quite large. They can be quite big. And let me see if I can show you here. It's down here, right there on the bottom corner. That's my conch shell. So I keep it in my office. I think it's good energy. So it's been in my family for as long as I can remember. My mom had it in our house growing up, and when she died, I brought it to my house. It sits with other seashells collected from different oceans, and it was sitting under our fish tank. The conch shell is a giant seashell. If you haven't seen one before, now you have. It symbolizes courage, bravery, and power. It was also used in some cultures as a call to battle. So I want to say in the movie, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's basically like they're in Hawaii, and one of the characters, he blows in this like a horn, and it's a call to battle. And if I remember right, there's a scene where like all of these sea creatures come out to help kind of fight this battle. So I thought that was interesting. The sound is said to banish evil spirits. Think of a giant seashell horn. It's also an example of the golden ratio, or the Fibonacci sacred geometry. So I'm sure that there's more and more mini signs, but these are just some of what I have looked into and can relate to my own life. I love that God and the angels think enough of us to send us signs and symbols of what we need to know. It gives me hope that we are indeed not alone, and all we need to do is to pay attention and connect to them to see the signs and messages that they send us. Thank you, God and angels, for all of your signs and your messages. So we're going to close this with a few last thoughts. So have you ever wondered about signs that you see in your own life? Do you ever contemplate why you're seeing these? Maybe you will after you watch this course. Maybe you will also look deeper into what messages they have for you in your journey in your own life. I love synchronicities. My dream last night had to do with snakes, and today I learned more about why I had the dream. I feel it correlates to me learning I'm on the right path in life and helping use my God-given gifts to help others live a better life as well. I see number sequences: 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 11, 11, 17, 117, 24, 37, 12, and the list goes on and on. So many others as well. They all have specific messages. I highly encourage you to be open to receive the messages that they want to show you in your own life. I feel like we have barely touched the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, with knowledge and learning what the universe and all of the spiritual beings want us to know. I love learning. I am a bit of a bookworm, and I love it when something that you want to learn finds its way to you in your life, a real aha moment or a light bulb moment, when all of the pieces start to fit perfectly together and start to make sense. So will you be open to receive? One of the things that I wrote in here was that I welcome the signs from God and my angels to show me which way to continue on the path of life. One of my favorite sayings is that life is a journey, not a destination. However, I usually say that life is a journey and heaven is the destination. We are here on earth to learn, go through challenges, and see things from a human perspective. When we finish life here, I believe that we may come back over and over again until we have ascended to the level that we need to be at our best selves. I feel like I am currently in my ascension process, or my spiritual awakening, learning as much as I can on how to do the job that I was sent here for. I felt like I was so lost for so long, just coasting through life. I wanted to know why I was here. What was it that I needed to know or do? While I still don't fully know what that is, I feel like I'm meant to help others heal. I went through many traumas and tragedies to help shape me. It helped me to have compassion and empathy for others in life. I may help them heal from their pain. Only God truly knows what our purpose is here in this life, and one day I know that it will be known to us what we are here to do. So I have felt, especially in the last few years, that it was preparation for what I'm called to do. Slowly the signs have amplified and become so in my face that they are impossible now to ignore. Doors have opened in my life that I couldn't have done on my own in the natural world, but in the supernatural, they open right on time. I can no longer ignore the signs that I am being shown. They are everywhere. From a commercial, an ad on TV, social media, a post, a calendar, a dream, a conversation with a friend, a knowing deep within, an animal, a literal sign. They are everywhere if we just look. We have to stop disbelief. There is no such thing as coincidence to me. It's all part of the divine plan for our life. Everything is in sync with all of the cosmos and stars aligned, just for us, just on time. God's time, not mine. I never in a million years thought that I'd be writing about such subjects or sharing any of my really interpersonal things in such a public way. But when it's part of God's plan, we have to get out of our way and let it happen. We are all here for a reason. God doesn't make mistakes. What we think is a mistake in life, God will use to help us bless others. which will in turn bless us as well. I'm so grateful to all of the people who have helped me learn along my journey, from authors who dared to write about their own life experiences as psychics or mediums, to angels in human or animal form who have helped me to hold on when my life was falling apart. It was falling into place. Little by little, all the signs started to paint the picture of who God called me to be. I'm still learning. I still feel like I'm growing. I still feel like I'm a work in progress. But that just means that it keeps getting better as time goes on. We have to give God the pen and trust the author to write our life story. Weaving the tapestry of our life is not done in a day. It takes time and patience and courage to become the best version of yourself. One of my favorite sayings is, "What would you do today if you knew you could not fail?" So what would you do? Your angels are calling you to step out of a comfort zone and start that thing. What are you waiting for? A formal invite or invitation? If we expect to grow as a soul, we got to get moving on our goals, ideas, and things that we are afraid of. I believe we are going to start seeing many things in our life all over the world change for the better. Being in a lockdown shook most of us either awake or made us question everything in our life. I think it opened our eyes to things that we just tolerated before. And I know for me, that was the case. When you are going through your spiritual awakening, your eyes will be open to things that you could not understand or see before. And that's the point. Once you're awake, you can never go back to sleep, energetically speaking, of course. If someone would have told me 5.5 years ago at 40 that I would have the guts to write a book and let the world know what I see and hear from spirit, I probably would have had a good laugh at your expense, or that I would lose so much of the things that I valued in life, but in its place find my true self. Life is all about changing. Nothing ever stays the same. We won't grow if we can't change. Some changes never scared me, my hair color, moving, jobs, but real deep change is the kind that involves bearing your naked soul, and that shit takes serious courage. I hope something that I shared in this book or in this episode or in this series will help you to take your power back, claim your victories in your life, and above all else, I hope that you experience true peace in your soul. For when we are at peace, I feel that we are truly connected to our Creator. Drop the heavy loads of worry, forgive, be free of anything that stunts your spiritual growth. It's the whole reason why we are here, to grow our souls, walk the stepping stones of your destiny. So I hope that you had a connection with your angels. You can use any of the tools in this workshop, in this course, to open up your intuition, to listen to your angels at any given time. And once you make that connection, it's much easier to tap in. So that's been my experience as well. So whether you meditate on a regular basis, pray on a regular basis, sit out in nature, connect with animals, the elements, however you choose to connect, start with gratitude. Start with saying thank you. Call your angels, your guides in, your entourage, and ask them what you need to know in this moment. And start practicing those things on a regular basis so that it becomes like second nature, that it's as easy as breathing. And after a while, you're going to realize that it's not as hard as we thought it was, that we can really connect to them at any given time. They're always available. They want to connect to us, and they have so much that they want to share. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for being here. Have a blessed day.